welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Raisha Saigal. Our cover story tonight is from the Russia-Ukraine war, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has defied the US President by targeting Moscow. On the show tonight, we will tell you how with both the sides, both Russia and Ukraine showing no signs of de-escalation and diplomacy on hold, this month has witnessed a surge in drone warfare between both the countries. We will also tell you how Europe's biggest missile maker is profiting from bombs that are killing children in Gaza. And we ask, how exactly are European companies tied to this devastation, and who is making money off Gaza's bloodshed? Finally, we will tell you how Donald Trump is about to hit 6 months mark in his second term in the office, but this time he's facing one of its biggest domestic challenges, the Epstein files. All that and a lot more lined up for you on the show tonight. Let's get you started. Our top focus on the show tonight. Ukraine has launched one of its largest drone offensives this week, striking deep into Russian territory in what appears to be an act of defiance by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Because just days after, US President Donald Trump warned Kiev not to target Moscow, Russia's defense ministry says it shot down at least 126 Ukrainian drones overnight, including 3 that approached the capital, Moscow. At least 12 Russian regions came under attack, prompting flight restrictions at major airports in Moscow, Kaluga and St. Petersburg. In fact, electronic warfare systems reportedly intercepted several drones launched by Ukraine east of St. Petersburg. Moscow's mayor posted on Telegram that 3 drones were neutralized on the city's outskirts. The strikes came only 2 days after Trump publicly told Zelensky not to launch attacks on the Russian capital, Moscow.
Should Zelensky target Moscow or deeper into Russia?
No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
Russian officials reported casualties and injuries in several regions. In the southwestern Russian region of Voronezh, a drone crashed into a residential building, wounding at least 3 residents. Meanwhile, in Belgorod, drone strikes killed 3 people and injured at least 17 more. In the Smolensk region, which lies to the west of Moscow and borders Belarus, at least 1 person was injured in drone strikes. A drone also hit a 2-story house in Kaluga region located to Moscow's southwest, injuring a 14-year-old girl. Now, Ukraine, on the other hand, endured another wave of Russian drone attacks. According to Ukraine's Air Force, Russia launched 64 drones into Ukrainian airspace overnight, of which 41 were intercepted. The remaining drones struck at least 5 different locations, inflicting damage and injuries in Ukraine. One of the deadliest incidents occurred in the eastern city of Dobropilya, located near the front line of the ongoing war. And according to Ukrainian officials, a Russian bomb strike on a shopping center and marketplace there killed at least 4 people and wounded at least 27 others. Videos online show flames engulfing the area with thick black smoke billowing skywards. According to regional authorities, Russia dropped a 500-kilogram bomb on Dobropilya, destroying 54 shops and 13 buildings around the crowded square. Now, Dobropilya lies just 30 kilometers northwest of Pokrovsk, which is a major flashpoint of the ongoing war. Now, on the battlefield, Russian forces claim to have captured another settlement in Donetsk, adding that it destroyed Ukrainian military assets, including 6 armored vehicles, 12 artillery and field guns, and 11 electronic warfare stations. Meanwhile, Ukraine's army chief also released a battlefield update saying that the Ukrainian Air Force missile units and artillery launched attacks on concentrations of Russian personnel, with Ukrainian strikes destroying 3 Russian tanks, 2 armored vehicles, 49 artillery systems. And earlier this week, Trump laid out a 50-day deadline for Moscow to accept a ceasefire with Ukraine or face sanctions if it failed to do so. And just earlier today, the Kremlin said that it is still assessing Trump's proposal, especially potential secondary tariffs targeting buyers of Russian goods. So at this point of time, neither Russia nor Ukraine appears ready to de-escalate. And this month has reportedly witnessed a surge in drone warfare, with both the countries exchanging drone attacks at a record pace. Russia claims it has downed over 1,500, that's the number, of Ukrainian drones this month, averaging around 90 per day compared to around 80 per day in June. While Ukraine reports receiving more than 4,000 drones in the first half of July alone, averaging nearly 240 drones daily compared to around 180 drones per day in June. These numbers perhaps underscore a new trend that we are witnessing on the battlefield. Diplomacy is on hold and drone warfare is rapidly intensifying. The battlefield is no longer limited to the trenches. It stretches across borders over the skies. Europe's biggest missile maker is profiting from bombs that are killing children in Gaza. Yes, that's what it boils down to right now, whether or not some people like it to put it that way or not. An explosive investigation by British daily The Guardian reveals how parts made in Europe end up in weapons raining down on Palestinian families in Gaza. But the question is, how exactly are European companies tied to this devastation? Who is making money off Gaza's bloodshed? And why aren't heads rolling in Europe? Those are our big questions tonight. The investigation names Europe's biggest missile manufacturer, MBDA. The company makes key parts for bombs used by Israel in airstrikes that have killed hundreds of civilians, including women and children in Gaza. It traced the supply chain of the GBU-39 bombs, which uses wings manufactured at an MBDA-owned factory in Alabama, USA. Now, these wings we're talking about, it unfolds after launch, guiding the bomb precisely to its target. Profits from this U.S. arm of the company reportedly flow back to MBDA offices in the UK and then to its headquarters in France. Last year, MBDA, it rather paid a lot of money to other countries because of the drones that is being used against Europe. So the company makes key parts for bombs, which is eventually used by Israel in airstrikes that have killed hundreds of civilians, including children, in Gaza. The Guardian report verified 24 airstrikes using the GBU-39, each killing civilians, including children. In one attack this May, a bomb tore through a school sheltering families in Gaza City, killing 36 people. Half of them were children. Both Amnesty International and the UN have flagged such attacks as potential war crimes, saying that no warnings were given before strikes on schools or tent camps. In September last year, UK's Foreign Minister David Lammy also suspended some weapons export licenses to Israel, citing a clear risk of serious violations of international law. But rights groups say that these measures were too little, too late, and it filled with loopholes. Remember, under international humanitarian law, attacks on civilian infrastructure like schools and hospitals are strictly prohibited. Armies are required to minimize harm to civilians, and failing to do so amounts to war crimes. Quite clearly, all these rules are being violated almost daily. These bombs, the GBU-39s, are small by military standards, under 250 pounds each. They're designed to destroy 1 or 2 floors while leaving the rest of the building standing. The US State Department has reportedly encouraged their use as an alternative to heavier bombs that flatten entire blocks. But inside enclosed shelters, like in this case of the densely populated camps in Gaza, they create lethal fireballs. The first attack reportedly took place in November last year. That's when these bombs hit the densely populated Burej refugee camp. Multiple buildings collapsed. 9 children died instantly, but the death toll kept rising as bodies were pulled from the rubble. Then, in May this year, the bombs were used in one of the deadliest attacks of the war when Israeli jets struck the Kuwaiti peace camp 1 in Rafah, igniting fires that spread rapidly through rows of tents. Amnesty International reported horrific scenes. A woman and a toddler decapitated by bomb fragments. That attack had killed 45 people and wounded 249. Israel claimed it was targeting a Hamas compound and said a secondary explosion from munitions stored nearby may have caused the fire. Amnesty, however, accused Israel of failing to distinguish between civilians and military goals, calling for war crimes investigations. Now, weapons experts say that the GBU-39s are almost always sold with MBDA's patented diamond-back wings, which guide them precisely to their targets. That means that MBDA is the sole known supplier of these wings on these bombs. And so, despite Britain's ban on some arms exports, MBDA's subsidiary in Alabama, US, it continues operating unaffected. Profit from these US sales flow back to MBDA offices in UK and then to its European owners. In 2024 alone, MBDA's revenues hit $5.4 billion. Critics argue that while the UK has sanctioned Russia's arms industry, it's taken a lighter touch approach when it comes to Israel. So what we see here essentially is that MBDA is profiting from Israel's bombing. MBDA insists it complies with all national and international laws, and its code of ethics states it is committed to protecting human rights and safety. But as the war drags on, campaigners say words are meaningless without action. And as a result, Europe's missile profits remain stained with the blood of Gaza's children. Is the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu trying to divide Syria? And that's following a ceasefire deal. Syrian forces have reportedly completely withdrawn from the Druze-dominated city of Suwaida. But questions now swirl. Number one, around Israel's motives. And number two, the leadership of Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara. Syria perhaps remains a fractured country. At the start of this year, this is what the map of Syria looked like. And a lot has changed since. Though a lot remains the same, as you can see on your screens right now, the Kurdish-controlled regions as well as the Turkish-backed groups in the north have operated autonomously for years. Pockets of ISIS still hold territory, And now, Israeli air raids across southern Syria, particularly in Suwaida, have left more than 500 people dead, and that's according to the war monitors. Al-Sharaa, remember, was an influential figure even under former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime, especially in the Idlib governorate in northwestern Syria. Al-Sharaa said he will not allow Syria to be divided by Israel and has vowed to protect the Druze community, saying that they are an integral part of the country.
أيها الشعب السوري الأبي.
The Israeli entity, which has consistently targeted our stability and sown discord since the fall of the former regime, now seeks once again to turn our sacred land into a theatre of endless chaos, aiming to fragment our unity and weaken our ability to rebuild and rise. We, the sons of this land, are best equipped to overcome every attempt by Israel to tear it apart.
In a statement, Bibi said that the ceasefire in Syria was, in his words, obtained by force. That's after Israel struck military targets in Damascus in response to Syrian government troops attacking the Druze. And according to reports, skepticism remains, especially among minority communities in Syria like the Druze and Alawites, who question whether al-Sharaa's background and government can truly deliver national cohesion. And Israel's military actions reportedly not only fosters these doubts about al-Sharaa and his government, but they're also indicative of a larger intent. Because since the collapse of the Assad government in late 2024, Israel has reportedly launched more than 350 airstrikes inside Syria. And targets include missile storage sites, air defense systems, and naval infrastructure. Experts say the majority of Syria's military capabilities have now been destroyed by Israel, adding that this is not just about deterring threats, it is about permanently weakening Syria's capacity to reassert itself as a major regional power in West Asia. Experts warn that this strategy by Israel may be a deliberate attempt to fragment Syria into ethnically and sectarian-based provinces, benefiting Israeli interests by ensuring no unified Syrian state can challenge regional power balance. According to reports, the latest Druze campaign in the south, along with ongoing unrest among Kurds, Turkmen and Alawites, it benefits Israel's main goal of a weakened Syria. Furthermore, Israel's deepening footprint in Syria, like in Golan Heights, reportedly only fosters this long-term instability. Even allies like U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio offered only a muted response when Israel violated the agreed ceasefire yesterday, calling it, and I'm quoting him here, misunderstanding. Now, the Trump administration faces a dilemma of sorts. Number one, can Washington keep the latest ceasefire pause intact? And more importantly, will Israel play along? Because as of now, a convoy of Israeli military vehicles was seen driving into the Syrian side of the Israeli-Syria border near the Druze town of Majd al-Shams in the Golan Heights. So, as Syria's map slowly reshapes through war and diplomacy, the question remains, is Netanyahu redrawing the borders of a broken country? Or will al-Sharaa somehow manage to reunite a divided Syria? Donald Trump is about to hit 6 months mark in his second term in office, but this milestone comes at a time when he is facing one of his biggest domestic challenge. The Epstein files and plummeting popularity has put the US president on the spot. And not just the critics, it's his own MAGA support base that is now giving him a tough time. The firefighting on Epstein front continues. Donald Trump has now pinned the blame on Democrats. He said that the Epstein hoax was started and run by Democrats, adding that some stupid Republicans are falling in this net.
It's not the Attorney General, no. I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier. That turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
Trump might pin the blame on Democrats, but the latest polls show that a majority of Americans are deeply unhappy with Trump administration's handling of the high-profile investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. People are demanding the release of Epstein's client list that allegedly includes names of child abusers. Trump has recently given statements that clearly indicate that he is distancing himself from the Epstein files fallout. Earlier, he said that if Pam Bondi wants to release the files, she should go ahead with it. He echoed the same sentiment again when asked about his position on the matter.
Sir, do you think you're going to with your Attorney General wasn't here, your FBI leadership? Do you still have confidence in that team, sir?
Total.
Sir, will you get
I have nothing to do with it.
Well, according to the latest survey from Quinnipiac University, 63% of voters say that they disapprove of the Trump Justice Department's conclusions in the Epstein case. That's the number, including the findings that there was no client list and that Epstein died by suicide while awaiting trial in 2019. Meanwhile, only 17% of respondents said that they were satisfied with the DOJ's final report. Another 20% said that they had no opinion. The poll shows a polarized response across party lines. Republican voters were divided. 40% approved of the administration's handling of the case, while 36% disapproved, and 24% remained undecided. Trump's MAGA base is now recoiling at the president's latest attacks on his followers. Elon Musk, Trump's former ally, said that Trump should just release the files and point out which part is the hoax. Even Republican lawmakers are breaking ranks with Trump on the claim. Among non-Republican voters, the disapproval was overwhelming. 83% and 71% respectively said that they were not satisfied with the investigation or its outcome. The FBI and DOJ have confirmed that the case is now closed with no new conclusions. But as the latest poll suggests, many Americans across the political spectrum are not ready to accept that the full story has been told. Well, let's now tell you what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. From Iraq, we will tell you about the deadly fire at a shopping mall in Al-Quds City, which has killed over 65 people. We will also tell you how Bangladesh has now halted the demolition of the ancestral home of Indian Academy Award winner Satyajit Ray. Finally, we will tell you how the US President Donald Trump is not just shaking up politics, but he also wants to shake what goes inside your Coke. A brutal escalation of conflict has plunged Ukraine into its bloodiest 24 hours. As Russia claims devastating military gains, Russian Defense Ministry claims that over 1,000 Ukrainian troops were killed, and it has now handed over the dead bodies of about 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers to Kiev. Our next story takes a closer look at the war, which is escalating by the hour.
The battlefield is ablaze, a storm of steel and fire. Russian forces press their offensive, claiming a staggering victory in what Moscow describes as the most lethal day for Ukrainian troops since the conflict began. In a single 24-hour charge, Moscow says Kyiv lost 1,200 soldiers, the fiercest blow in recent memory. An independent verification remains impossible in the fog of war. On the same day, Russia handed over to Ukraine the bodies of 1,000 soldiers. This is part of an agreement reached at peace talks last month. Moscow says Ukraine handed over 19 killed Russian soldiers. On the front lines, the situation is dire for Ukraine. The thunder of multiple rocket launchers brings death and destruction. Ukrainian troops valiantly try to hold their posts and launch precision strikes to destroy the incoming Russian tanks. Kharkiv and Sumy are the focal points of the fighting. Russian forces have been hammering these locations mercilessly. In a significant strategic move, Russia asserts it has captured new areas in Donetsk, Kharkiv region and the southern Zaporizhzhia region. The Russian military accelerated its advances for a third consecutive month in June. Its territorial gains for that month were the biggest since November last year. Ukraine is anxiously waiting for the delivery of the promised weaponry. The NATO military leadership says it is actively working with Germany to send Patriot missile defense systems to Ukraine. The weapons are being delivered under a novel plan where European nations would be paying to the US, which would be selling these weapons. But now France, Italy and the Czech Republic have rejected funding weapon supplies, citing concerns over the economic toll on their populations. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, Bangladesh has halted the demolition of the ancestral home of legendary Indian director and Academy Award winner Satyajit Ray in Mymensingh city. And this comes after India stepped in, requesting the country to reconsider its decision and repair the structure. Bangladesh officials have formed a committee to look into the ancestral home's reconstruction. It belonged to Satyajit Ray's grandfather, Upendra Kishore Ray Chaudhary. It was formerly used as Mymensingh Shishu Academy and was being demolished to make way for a new semi-concrete structure. Bangladesh's decision comes as India offered assistance for the restoration of the ancestral home, suggesting it should be preserved as a museum of literature symbolizing shared culture heritage between India and Bangladesh. Even Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister of the state of West Bengal in India, had demonstrated against this demolition. Drawing attention to the matter, she urged the central government to intervene. She called the Ray family one of the prominent torch-bearers of Bengal's culture and pillar of Bengal Renaissance. And shifting our focus to Iraq now, a deadly fire that broke out late night at a shopping mall in Al-Quds city in eastern Iraq has killed nearly 70 people. At least 11 others are still missing as of now. According to Iraqi officials, the newly opened mall in eastern Iraq's Wasit province was entirely engulfed in flames after the fire swept through it. According to a statement released by the Interior Ministry, more than 45 people who were trapped inside the mall building had been rescued by civilian defense teams in massive operations. Officials say that many suffocated to death in the bathrooms and many more bodies are yet to be identified. The number of casualties, including women and children, continue to rise. Locals say it is a tragedy like never seen before. Many even questioned if enough safety protocols were in place in the 5-story mall which just opened last week.
We came here to offer our condolences and support. We brought vehicles, water, and whatever else they might need. We are at their service. May God grant them patience in the face of this tragedy that struck Al-Qut from yesterday until today. We ask God to have mercy on the victims with His vast mercy.
Anxious family members were seen gathering outside Al-Qut Hospital awaiting updates on their loved ones. Right, and while the cause of the fire remains unknown as of now, the province's governor announced that initial findings will be released within the next 48 hours. On Thursday, the governor of Wasat province, Mohammad Jamil Al-Mahaya, visited the site for inspection. Lawsuits have been filed against the owner of the building and the mall as well. 3 days of mourning has now been declared in memory of those who died. And they died because they just went out to enjoy life. 1 minute, victims of tragedy the next. Our next story is about US President Donald Trump and, well, Coca-Cola. Trump isn't just shaking up politics, he now wants to shake up what goes inside your Coke. He says Coca-Cola should use real cane sugar in its American drinks. He claims he's convinced that the beverage giant to make the switch is just better. That's what Trump says. Now, for some Americans, this might sound like great news, a sweeter, more natural Coke like Mexican Coke that many swear just tastes better. But for others, this news is not so great. If you wonder why, because this change in Coca-Cola recipe for the US market could end up isolating a major part of the water base, the Corn Belt of America's Midwest. Let me explain it to you in the next few minutes. Now, Coca-Cola currently uses high fructose corn syrup or HFCS in its drinks in the US. It is a sweetener made from corn that is cheaper, sweeter, and more shelf-stable than cane sugar. But just across the border in Mexico, Coke uses cane sugar, which is often marketed and considered as tasting more natural. Following Trump's announcement on the recipe change on his Truth Social platform, the beverage giant responded, let's just say, cautiously. That's how Coca-Cola has responded, and I'm quoting it here. We appreciate President Trump's enthusiasm for our iconic Coca-Cola brand. More details on new innovative offerings within our Coca-Cola range will be shared soon, unquote. The company has not confirmed whether it plans to fully switch all US manufacturing to cane sugar. More details are expected in its earnings report on July 22nd. But if it happens, it's a change that many say could hit corn farmers in the US. And that is at the heart of his Midwest voter stronghold. Already, Trump's announcement has rattled parts of the corn industry. Shares of Archer Daniels Midland, a major corn syrup manufacturer, fell more than 5% in pre-market trading. Coca-Cola shares, meanwhile, remained virtually unchanged. Now, cane sugar manufacturing in the US accounts for only 30% of the nation's sugar supply. The rest, it comes from sugar beets and imports on the other hand. Now, corn syrup became dominant as a sweetener in the US because in the 1970s, US corn subsidies increased, leading to a dramatic rise in the manufacturing and use of high fructose corn syrup, HFCS. With sugar prices climbing due to import tariffs, high fructose corn syrup became the cheaper sweetener for food and beverage companies. High fructose corn syrup manufacturing also supports millions in farm income as well as manufacturing jobs. This is especially across what is called the Corn Belt. States like Iowa, Illinois, and Nebraska states. That from the backbone of Trump's voter base. They're the backbone of Trump's voter base. But the Corn Refineries Association has warned that replacing corn syrup with cane sugar would, number one, cost thousands of American food manufacturing jobs. Number two, depress farm income for U.S. corn growers. And thirdly, increase dependence on imported sugar. Corn Refineries Association President John Board has already questioned the move, saying it does not make sense because the U.S. president has publicly supported U.S. farmers and further pushed for domestic manufacturing. There's yet another layer of politics to this. In the U.S., corn manufacturers are concentrated in the Midwest, a region that has long wielded major influence over lawmakers in Washington. Also, Trump's home state of Florida is the country's top sugarcane manufacturer. Ironically, Trump's personal favorite beverage is Diet Coke, and it will perhaps not get affected by the switch Diet Coke uses aspartame, which is an artificial sweetener unrelated to this cane sugar versus corn syrup debate. So, the question is this just a branding push, a political gamble, or does Trump genuinely want Americans to have a better Coca-Cola drinking experience? We may never know his true motivation, but one thing is clear. It's a decision that could end up hurting the very farmers who helped elect him. The real answer will come only if Coca-Cola decides to switch its entire sweetener supply. In our next story, we will tell you about how mystery and fire colliding in Area 51, which is a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in Nevada. Now, despite its operational role, the site has become the topic of various conspiracy theories, most notably involving extraterrestrial life and UFOs. And in the latest, a wildfire near the highly secretive Area 51 military base has reignited public speculation and conspiracy theories online. The blaze has been confirmed as a part of the Gothic fire, which has been raging across northern Nevada since July 4th. However, UFO enthusiasts are not convinced with that claim. From Reddit threads to TikTok breakdowns, many users are questioning the timing and location. Some even believe that the fire may have been an effort to destroy evidence of extraterrestrial technology or even cover up a crash. The fire is running about 15 miles from Area 51 near the Nevada test site, where the U.S. once conducted above-ground nuclear tests. The Gothic fire has now spread over 366,000 acres and is currently 0% contained. However, despite all kind of speculation doing the rounds, what is clear that mystery and Area 51 are never too far apart. And while officials maintain it's a standard wildfire, the smoke has once again reignited questions that never quite burns out. Well, they say dogs are a man's most faithful companion. But what if I say the same for a whole community? In India's Manipur, a canine breed is making headlines for its impeccable sniff and hunt abilities. Known as Haufa, this dog breed indigenous to Manipur's Thankul region is known for its sharp hunting instincts as well as an undying sense of loyalty, which once made it a trusted companion for Thankul hunters. In fact, among the Thankuls, an ethnic tribal community, two types of Haufa are commonly recognized. Number one, a smaller one known for hunting skills, and a larger one with bullish black coat, broad jaws and a long muzzle, which make them look like a bear. Each Haufa would also be given a unique name and trained to combat and even guard their masters. For the local community, Haufa is more than just a furry and fierce loyalist, but also a symbol of the cultural heritage, representing indigenous biodiversity, recognizing their abilities. The Assam Rifles, arguably the oldest paramilitary force in India, have also begun procuring Haufa dogs for their dog training center in Jorhat. However, there's some cause of concern here because the population of this pure Haufa breed is reportedly declining steadily, making it extremely rare to trace dogs of the real lineage. Efforts are being made to preserve the native and the most sought-after Haufa breed. And shifting our focus, Brussels is going vocal for local quite literally and saying no to things made outside the European Union. In its latest push towards domestic industries, Brussels plans to unveil a proposal to make fruit, vegetable and milk in schools acceptable only if they are made in Europe and contain the label of the same. Basically, the proposal requires all fruits, vegetables and milk supplied through the European Union School Food Scheme to be sourced entirely from within the bloc as a means to reduce dependence on external vendors. But what's behind the Made in Europe hand up? Well, according to a draft regulation seen by the Financial Times, the proposal expected to be put forth this week will serve as an important plank in the common agricultural policy for the EU's next long-term budget cycle starting 2028. As per the proposal, the scheme, which currently provides fresh food to millions of children across the bloc, could fund an estimated amount of about $255 million worth of goods per year. However, the Made in Europe not only applies to food but also to defense procurement, rules and guidelines for clean technology, the impact of all of which have begun to be felt on ground right now. On Wednesday, around 200 farmers from across Europe marched towards the European Commission building in Brussels to demand greater financial support and reforms from the bloc, urging them not to slash the agricultural budget. And also, food growers are further demanding greater accountability and autonomy in decision-making.
A year and a half ago, we sent a clear message to the whole of Europe that we were facing an agricultural crisis. There was a need to overcome those challenges despite all the difficulties that we are well aware of. But we will not allow this new budget proposal to disrespect farmers.
All right, in a move aimed at nurturing family life and work-life balance, the Dubai government has launched a new initiative offering fully paid marriage leave of 10 working days to Emirati nationals employed across its various entities. This benefit applies only if the employee and their spouse are both Emirati citizens, that's number one, and the marriage contract must be certified in the UAE and dated before 31st December 2024. Apart from this, employees must have successfully completed their probationary period. A certified copy of the marriage certificate is also required for verification, and the individual should be working in Dubai government entity. Now, during the marriage leave period, an employee is entitled to their full gross salary, including allowances and financial benefits as well, which is stipulated under the applicable human resources legislation. Apart from that, the decree further stipulates that a government entity may not call up an employee during marriage leave, with the exception of military personnel if work requires it. And in such a situation, if an employee is called up during marriage leave to perform national or reserve service, or if they are unable to use their marriage leave for the same reason, the marriage leave or any other remaining days thereof shall be transferred until after the employee completes their national or reserve service. Well, this initiative not only promotes social well-being but also sets a progressive benchmark for employee welfare across the region. Well, a star just like our sun is giving birth not to life, but to world's astronomers have caught the earliest ever glimpse of rocky planets forming in deep space. This rare cosmic snapshot may unlock secrets of how Earth and we came to be. Take a look.
In the silent vastness of the cosmos, where time crawls and matter dances in the dark, something spectacular just unfolded. Billions of kilometers away, a young star, a solar sibling to our own, is forging new worlds from dust. We have caught it in the act. For the first time in human history, astronomers have observed the raw swirling beginnings of rock planets taking shape around a newborn sun-like star. This is not science fiction. This is blueprint of creation unfolding in real time.
The first opportunity we have to look at what we think was a really critical stage of evolution in our own solar system's history and start to connect it to what the astronomers are seeing. So I think, I think there's a rich opportunity here that we'll see how it plays out in the next couple of years. But this is kind of what we've been searching for a while.
Astronomers using the cutting-edge power of the Webb Space Telescope and ESO's ALMA telescope have achieved an astounding feat, capturing time zero of rocky planet formation around a nascent, sun-like star designated HOPS 315. This is a yellow dwarf in its early stage, nearly 100,000 to 200,000 years old. That's simply a blink in cosmic time, where magic is happening. Within its swirling gas disk, scientists have detected the telltale signs, solid specks condensing, forming the very first building blocks of worlds.
And this is one part of it, like to contribute to the bigger picture and trying to understand, are there Earth-like planets out there, or are we like so special that we might not expect it to occur very often?
This groundbreaking observation, unlike previous detections around other young stars, suggests that the universe is teeming with nascent planetary systems, each a potential cradle for future worlds. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Imagine knowing your child could inherit a deadly genetic disease and there was nothing you could do to stop it. Well, now there's hope. For the first time, 8 children in the United Kingdom have been saved from such diseases, thanks to a pioneering 3-person IVF technique. Scientists at Newcastle University say that this breakthrough stops incurable, often fatal disorders from being passed on. And here's how it works. Some mothers carry faulty mitochondrial genes. These genes sit inside the cell's energy factories, and when they are damaged, they can cause serious diseases affecting the brain, heart, muscles, liver, and even kidneys. Doctors first fertilize the mother's egg with the father's sperm. They then remove the nuclei which carry the baby's DNA from both the parents. This is then transferred into a healthy donor egg, which has had its own nucleus removed, but it keeps its healthy mitochondria. The result? A baby with mum and dad's DNA plus healthy mitochondria from the donor. This prevents dangerous mutations from being passed on. Of the 8 children born this way in the United Kingdom, 1 is now 2 years old, 2 are between 1 and 2, and 5 are infants. All were born healthy, with no or very low levels of mutations. Doctors say that they are developing normally. And why is this important? Because faulty mitochondria can cause incurable diseases. This technique could reduce mutations by up to 100%. Experts are calling this a huge milestone because it took decades of research, ethical debates around this technique, and new laws to make it possible. In 2015, the United Kingdom became the first country to legalize mitochondrial donation treatments. In the US, for comparison, this remains effectively banned under laws against genetic modifications. For families with these deadly mutations, this breakthrough offers something priceless: hope for a healthy future generation. And for the scientists, they say that this is just the beginning. Well, your everyday browser extension, a tool you rely on for convenience, could be secretly spying on you. Researchers just uncovered a massive campaign affecting over 2 million users. And the most alarming part, if you ask, these harmful extensions were hiding in plain sight on the official Chrome and Edge stores. 18 browser extensions that appeared legitimate because of its strong reviews, verification badges, and having been active for years have now been exposed for secretly tracking users' online behavior. Researchers say that many of these extensions initially offered helpful features like weather updates, volume boosting, and dark mode, but they were in fact sleeper agents. These extensions functioned normally for years. However, they became harmful when cybercriminals later added malicious code through updates. This often happens when an extension has been in a web store for a long time, making it easier for attackers to slip in malicious updates without raising suspicion. Once these sleeper agents are activated, the extensions begin deploying a browser hijacking mechanism that triggers every time you navigate to a new page. Every time you visit a new web page, the malicious extension quietly activates. It captures the site's URL, adds a unique user ID, and sends this information to a remote command server. Following instructions from the server, the extension silently hijacks your browser, redirecting you to phishing pages, fake websites, or malware-filled traps. According to a report by Bleeping Computer, a tech news website, around 1.7 million people ended up installing these malicious extensions from the Chrome Web Store. Meanwhile, a total of 2.3 million users were affected across Chrome and Microsoft Edge. The Superman movie, directed by James Gunn, has become an unexpected focal point of debate, with viewers clashing over perceived political subtext related to the conflict in Gaza, despite director James Gunn's assertion that the screenplay was written prior to the October 7, 2023 events. The movie is drawing strong and divergent reactions from audiences. While anti-Israel factions are reportedly embracing the movie as a metamorphical commentary on the situation in Gaza, drawing parallels between the narrative and their understanding of the conflict. This rather suggests that the movie's themes can be contextualized to reflect the displacement, struggle, or power dynamics observed in West Asia. Meanwhile, advocates for Israel are vehemently denying any such comparison, insisting that linking a fictional superhero narrative to a real-world conflict is inappropriate and inaccurate. They argue that attributing a specific political stance to a movie conceived before the current situation is a misrepresentation of the director's intentions and the movie's content. Meanwhile, James Gunn has publicly stated that the script was finalized before October 7, 2023. However, in the highly charged atmosphere surrounding the Gaza conflict, artistic works, regardless of the real intent, are frequently viewed through a political lens by various groups. The controversy surrounding the movie highlights the often unpredictable nature of audience reaction and how perhaps current events can shape the interpretation of media. That only time will tell how widely this political readings will spread and whether they have ultimately impacted the movie's broader base. And with that, we slip into a very short break. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
This week on the West Asia Post. Israel bombs Syria, but it's the Druze minority caught in the middle. Inside Hamas's new playbook, from rockets to ambushes, a tactical shift that's changing the battlefield. Lebanon's rivers are dry, the land is cracked, the country is thirsting for survival. And in Gaza, it is starvation versus stray bullets. Walk towards food or walk into bullets.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.